Well, good morning from Wilson, North Carolina. It's Asa Gregory. Coming to my friends from exile. The reason I'm coming to everybody from exile, on Facebook, it's because I had kind of a self-imposed rough weekend. I, with my words, offended at least 3 people. 2 of which considered me to be a racist. One of which was a dear friend. I consider her a dear friend at this point. And I offended her greatly. And I won't get into the details of it because that's, well, personal. But the point is, my language, my words, affected my interpersonal communication and my interpersonal relationships with those that I care about, those that I respect. And so this morning, what I'm talking to all y'all about is communication, because I'm one of the worst at it. I was talking with Demetrius Saldana just this morning, and he gave me a lot of good insight. And one of the things he said was, and I completely agree, and I already know this, and I should have known this going into those weekend occurrences, those weekend interactions with folks, extended weekend, because part of it happened Monday night into Tuesday morning. But basically a long weekend, and there was something in the planets, the stars, and everything that was going on all around the country, probably the world. We all felt it a little bit, but it just was it was an interesting weekend. But to the people I offended, I certainly should say I'm sorry, because I'm very sorry for offending you. If this happens to get to the 2 young women who I offended with my words regarding race, I hope that you will be able to reflect on what I said and maybe possibly understand where I was coming from. However, one of the things Demetrius said to me, and one of the things I've seen, I have been observing from an alter ego on Facebook, been sort of in exile there, not as well connected with that profile, considerably less friends on Facebook, considerably less access. But one thing that I've noticed is that people have been talking about how white allies need to listen, and they do. We do. We need to listen, and really, the only insight we should be sharing is when it's asked for, because we're in these groups to learn and to grow as a person, and to find out what we can do to dismantle this institutional racism, this system of white supremacy, system of white privilege. And we can't do it by talking all the time. We can't do it by really talking. If we're trying to learn from people of color about what's really going on, if we're talking, we're not listening. And that's what Demetrius was talking to me about. And he's right. I've known that for years. You got to listen to communicate effectively. That's very true. My parents gave me, they've been sort of sensing I've been going through something. So they gave me a little book of basically like appreciating your son sort of quotes. And it was really sweet. They sort of figured out that I was going through something, but they didn't pry, which means that they're learning to listen. Because I've had my issues of communication with my parents as well throughout the years. Of course, we all have. But anyway, they gave me this little book of quotes. I mean, when I say little, I mean like, what is that, like 1.25 inches square? Very cute little book. Very handy. But it's got a lot of quotes in it, and I'm probably going to botch the exact words of it. But George Bernard Shaw basically took the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. You know, people live by the golden rule. You know, say treat others with respect, and kindness, and courtesy, and compassion. All those are great, wonderful qualities. But his twist is, do not do unto others that you would have them do unto you, because their preferences might be different. Aha. That is pretty monumental for those of us who have blindly accepted the golden rule through, you know, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Asian religions and philosophies. You know, we've heard about the golden rule for years and years. So, but this puts it on its ear a little bit, because what it's saying is, if you hold people to a standard that you're used to, which is something I'm guilty of. I have some exes who would say that. But if you hold people to a standard that you're guilty of, I mean, wait a minute. If you hold people to a standard that you're used to, then you are going to be guilty of judging them inherently, because they are not living up to your standard. Why aren't you following the golden rule like I am? So, just remember, we're all human, but we're all different too, like snowflakes. So that's something that I've had to learn. Another thing I was thinking about is the fact that when we talk in these forums, we talk about many things, but we all want to be heard, right? Right? Are you nodding your head? Good, because that's the honest answer. All right. Good morning. How are you? That's the right answer. We all want to be heard. I just told Demetrius this morning, you know, in real life, I rarely am able to finish a thought because as soon as I'm getting to the point where I'm about to make my juicy, meaty point, the phone rings, or you know, someone else's phone, or my own, or someone just like anticipates. They're waiting to talk instead of listening. And I'm just as guilty of that. We all need to listen. So I think what we've been going through as a group, as a people, as Americans of different cultural backgrounds, trying to relate to each other, trying to heal racially, trying to dismantle white supremacy, institutional racism, white privilege. Get rid of it. Fuck it. We need to get it gone. But how are we going to do that? We're going to do it by talking. And by talking, I mean not over each other. I mean conversing. Go to the root of the word. You know, converse back and forth. I can't quote the root. I mean, I studied ancient Greek when I was in school very briefly, so I have the basics of it. But basically, conversing back and forth. You get the idea. So that's what we have to do, you know? And there's one last thing related to that. If we listen to each other, and I'm looking at myself on this screen, so it's almost like I'm talking in the mirror. It makes me think of Michael Jackson and the man in the mirror. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. That's what I have to do. Here I am in exile from Facebook because of some stupid shit that I said. Disrespectful shit. Some of it was honest and right on, and maybe a little misinterpreted, but still, I apologize to those 3 young ladies that I offended again. But if we don't listen, then we run the risk of being bullies for each other. I've heard people talk about cyberbullying, right? That's a real thing, okay? It affects people. It really does. You know, my screw up affected me to the point where for the first time in 9 years, almost 10 years, almost a decade, I've gotten off of my main Facebook account that I signed up with using my East Carolina University email address. That was the requirement at the time. To get on Facebook was to have a college address. I've had it since then, and I've shut it down, deactivated it for a short time. So, I shut it down for a short time because of things I said, because I didn't listen. So, morning. How are you? Glad I made you laugh. Got a friend over here laughing at me because of the way I waved the van on, because they weren't. Again, communication is also physical. Physicality. I mean, I obviously waved them on and they didn't go. But getting back to my point, I shut this down because I'm going to stop and give you a little bit of nature that we have here in Wilson. I'll just go ahead and pan around, see if I can do it slowly. Behind me is, over there is a shopping center, but behind me, that's the library. Okay, and it's a green space. There's our quote-unquote skyscraper. But anyway, so I'm rambling. I'm totally rambling. That's what we do, though. We ramble. We like to hear ourselves. We like to be heard. So what my final point is that because we like to be heard, we often don't listen. This is what Demetrius talked to me about. So in order to avoid being bullies to each other and potentially leading someone to a pathway that could be very dark and make them feel bad about themselves because there was a misunderstanding, or make them mad at you, which is unhealthy too, but really you can only make yourself mad or make yourself sad. A friend of mine has that in lyrics in a song: cannot make me mad, cannot make me sad, but you do anyway. It's Schooner band. Reed Johnson wrote those words. He's an awesome dude. Look him up, Schooner the band. Anyway, okay, I gotta wrap this up because I gotta walk. Today I'm gonna walk 8 miles. Eight is a very important number to me. It's infinity on the side. It's also the number of months I lived in New Mexico. It's just my favorite number. So today is gonna be 8 miles. So back to the bullying, cyberbullying, and not listening to each other. The word bully has got such a negative connotation at this point. And we have changed it. We've changed the meaning of bully from when Teddy Roosevelt coined the phrase bully pulpit, referring to being president, having that forum to air ideas. He was using it in the sense of, and I'm sure you can picture his character, his personality saying bully for you, which means good for you. So what he meant was not bully like a cyberbully or someone who beats up someone and takes their lunch money, that sort of bullying. It's actually good. So he meant a good pulpit. And that's what we have in these groups. That's what we have on Facebook. That's what we have in the community around us. I mean, I just made that guy laugh, That was a great exchange. I like laughing. I really do. And I haven't had much of it lately, but I look forward to having more of it. But that's the final thought I wanted to leave you with is bully pulpit. We all have a bully pulpit. And it doesn't mean bully like in the negative sense, like we beat each other up. We don't need to beat each other up. That's not going to bring racial healing. That's not going to move this country forward. We need to be good to each other. As Ami Propagator says, we need to love. He talked about the rice experiment. The bowl of rice, put hate on one, put love on the other, and the one with hate starts to, get some rot to it, and the one with love, it hangs out. It hangs in there because of love, the energy. We need to put positive energy out there. We need to put love out there. And I want to give a huge shout out to my brother, mi hermano, Francisco Villa. I'm going to leak this to him so that he can share it with you guys in those groups. So I can say hi to you and I can just share with you through my experience, through my mistakes, the sense of what we need to do to make this right for each other. So in the tradition of Ami Propagator, True love, true knowledge, true peace, no divisions, no supremacy, and no corrupt systems. Peace be unto all of you. Take care.